This is Sky News, the main stories. Hundreds of inmates are involved in an ongoing riot at the Winson Green Jail in Birmingham. Reports say prisoners have taken control of a number of wings and are destroying prison records. 1,500 staff at airports across the UK are to strike for 48 hours over Christmas as part of a dispute about pay. And Russia says Syrian government forces have now taken control of all of eastern Aleppo, with pockets of rebel resistance being liquidated. Well, more now on the situation in Syria, where there are conflicting reports about the progress of the operation to evacuate civilians and rebels from besieged areas of Aleppo. I'm joined by Imran Madden, the UK Director of Islamic Relief. Good evening to you, Imran Madden. In the last few minutes, the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has been speaking about the situation in Syria, describing Aleppo as a synonym for hell. Do you agree?
I would certainly agree. I think it's still a living hell for the tens of thousands who remain. It's a very confused picture. We accept that the images of residents leaving in some thousands is encouraging. It must be a massive relief for them to escape from the living hell. But it's still very confused. We're very concerned about the tens of thousands who remain, and of course those many thousands haven't received vital humanitarian aid since June, July. We've been not unable to be operational in the city since July. So it's still, we have to underline that it's still a chronic humanitarian crisis with many thousands, tens of thousands in need of humanitarian assistance. So of course the primary concern is the protection of those individuals. If they are being moved, that's encouraging, but they need to be moved to areas that are safe, and they need to be given life-saving humanitarian support immediately.
Yeah, what is your understanding of the conditions of the places that they are being taken to, those that have managed to get out so far?
We haven't had so much news about where they've been taken. We know that some residents that have been able to move before have been taken to areas where there has been a degree of security and assistance. But of course, we're talking about tens of thousands of people who are still remaining in eastern Aleppo. And they have chronic needs. They are dying day by day, not just from the conflict and from the constant bombing. There may be a relative lull in that at the moment, but many of them have chronic healthcare concerns. They've not received vitally important medical support for some months. There's not been an operational hospital for some weeks as well. So we don't want to get our hopes up too high. We have to underline that there's still huge humanitarian needs for the many tens of thousands who remain, but also on behalf of the humanitarian community, we are still asking for confirmation about what access that we can be given. Now, you asked the question about the condition of those who are being taken to other places. We want to have some reassurances that we can access those areas, that we can provide assistance to the many thousands who need it. And if there are significant numbers of people who remain in Aleppo, we want to be able to have a humanitarian corridor that's safe for our staff and allows us to mobilise our logistics and access those areas. We haven't so far been given that.
And as you say, Imran Madden, you haven't been able to operate inside Aleppo since July now. What information are you getting from those on the ground about the sort of conditions that they have been living under?
Well, there are stories of many hundreds of people still trapped in the rubble. I mean, there was an incessant level of bombing, carpet bombing, and many thousands were trapped. Many have died and are still under rubble. So I think it's absolutely right that we call it a scene from hell. But there are many thousands who remain inside their homes, in what's left of their homes within the rubble, whose expectations have increased. And I think it's absolutely important that those who have raised those expectations fulfill them by giving them safe and quick access to the absolutely vital support that they need now, today.
Yeah, Ban Ki-moon calling for that ceasefire to be reinstated. Turkey also adding to those calls for the ceasefire to be reinstated. But given previous history, recent history in terms of ceasefires, how confident are you that that will happen and happen soon?
Well, as a humanitarian aid agency, we do a number of we do scenario building, and we base those scenarios on recent history and recent events, and one of those scenarios, of course, is that there is a lasting ceasefire, that there is humanitarian access to the most needy, but we have to say it's not the most prominent of our scenarios. I think we're a bit doubtful that we're going to see a significant change in the attitude of those who have been bombing civilian targets indiscriminately, targeting civilian areas like hospitals. We're not so confident that will change overnight. So our scenarios are really based on a continued chronic humanitarian crisis with many thousands fleeing to uncertainty. So we'd underline again that we, as part of the humanitarian community, are absolutely ready to fulfill our part, but that is made all the more difficult when there isn't a significant ceasefire and those that are responsible for continued human rights abuses continue to bomb civilians.
Imran Madden, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
Let's return now.